Welcome to Bonded Voices. This episode is about scandal, internet privacy, and what is yet to be revealed. Reason we're covering this topic is because the news just came out that the government, the NSA, has been buying people's private information from different tech companies, everything from the stuff they search online to the way they use social media. And I think this is probably only just scratching the surface. So to me, this is a huge scandal. I'm Ian.
This is Lauren.
And I'm Greg.
And welcome to Bonded Voices. So yeah, this story broke, and I thought this was one that, again, I don't think it's a topic that's going away anytime soon. I think this is the tip of the iceberg. I think we've got a situation where, leading towards a Chinese model of a social credit score, this is where this is going. They want to be able to say, and I was explaining to my son this today, they want to be able to go on and say, oh, you're not getting this job because back in 2024, we saw you were searching this online. And what's this about? Is it relevant? Probably not, but they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And, I want to throw this out to you guys. Like, have you thought to yourselves, how come a company that starts in someone's garage, gets an IPO, and is valued at $10 billion overnight, with absolutely no assets, no products, other than data? To me, that's never made sense.
That's the entire tech industry, right? I mean, it started off with, Facebook and Twitter, and those are the big dogs now. But it was before that, it was, Microsoft and all those companies that were just getting these huge valuations.
But is this the explainer of that, Lauren? Is this what finally makes it all make sense? So
slightly a tangent on this is there's a company that just released someone released for sale on the dark web. It's 26 billion user accounts aggregated from all the data breaches in the last few years, to where you can buy it and use that data. That data is on sale for $6 a user. So you can buy portions of it, whatever, and they get to know who you are through all your accounts.
Right.
They can log in as you, they can, or attempt to, right? Hopefully everyone's changed their passwords and all that. But it goes back to how much data is out there. What is your digital footprint that most of us don't even realize how deep this stuff goes? I mean, sure, we like to have relevant ads pop up when we're on Amazon or Facebook or whatever, but it goes way beyond that. I mean, how many times have we actually been having a conversation and our phones happen to be sitting beside us, and then, hey, there's an ad for that. We were talking baseball, next thing you know, we have bat sales on, pop up on Amazon and stuff. So big corporations are constantly looking at ways to sell to us. So the government having it is not a good thing.
Well, and so let's look at this from a different point of view, because the argument that we're going to hear from the pro-government side is, we just want to make sure that all of the citizens are in line. We want to be able to troubleshoot someone that might become a problem or an issue.
There's a great sci-fi story about this. It's Minority Report, right? It's pre-crime, pre-crime thought process. It's great to have that, but the usage of it will always trample someone's rights, because you actually haven't done anything wrong yet. I actually saw the insurance industry is aggregating data as well. And they actually know which cars or which make and model of cars have the most DUIs, have the most speeding tickets. And it's not what you would think. It's
BMWs.
Yeah, BMWs. Actually, the BMWs have the highest rates of DUIs out of everybody. And then followed by Ram shortly after that. But it's crazy that all that data is aggregated. Now you throw in NSA having that data, they can social score this to you where you can't get a job.
Yeah.
It affects your insurance rates. You haven't done anything, but you're a white male that drives a Ram truck. Oh, you're going to get a DUI. So you have a higher rate.
See, I think that whole idea of like we're looking for the lone wolf to justify it as a boondoggle, I think that's a bunch of BS.
I completely agree, but that's going to be the defense.
No, and it is the one is they're almost creating this straw man that this is why we're doing it and it's for your better interest. But that's not. We have a constitution to protect us from that. The other side of it is on the news report they said illegally mining data, buying data. And I'm thinking, well, hang on a second, if it's illegal, who's being prosecuted? When are they being prosecuted? And when are we going to hear about it?
Never.
You know, and that's the scary part with this is because we're at a point where, you know, I've always thought this. People go, oh, when was the internet invented? Oh, Al Gore invented it in the early 90s, right? But first I heard of it was 93. And then you hear the first internet transmissions were done in late 50s, early 60s in the military.
Yeah.
You can only think the planning of especially an illicit and illegal government is probably so far ahead of saying, they probably were sitting there in the 90s going, what if we found a way to collect all this usage data, found a way to listen to all the citizens, found a way to do this. I think they've been doing it for a long time.
Well, that was the whole thing about the CIA or whoever that worked with, I believe it was AT&T or Ma Bell back in the day when they put in the phone switches in Europe, that they had the ability to listen to everything. Our government was given the right to listen to everybody's calls. So,
and because it wasn't based in the US, it probably got around US constitutional laws, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's been happening since since the U.S. has been putting technology all over the world. It's the reason why we have trouble with the cell towers and 5G in this country is because, you know, not to pick on Huawei, but that company was building the 5G towers, and they have the ability, you know, supposedly they didn't put any listening devices in it, but that's who built that's where all the infrastructure is in the United States.
So we are probably more, we don't trust our government, probably more so than ever. Probably with good cause because of the things that have happened over the last 20 or so years. But where do we go from here? I don't know if you can unwind this, and as they erode trust, where's the inflection point?
So I was watching an interesting video recently, and it talked about, and I don't remember the specific percentage, but the reason that the people that started the United States broke off was, what was it, taxation without representation?
Yeah.
And so I don't know what those tax tariffs looked like. But you start to think about all of the different factors that impact us on a daily basis, where we're taxed on our income, we're taxed on our automobiles, we're taxed on the gasoline we buy, we're taxed on every product we buy, we're taxed on retirement funds, we're taxed on the properties that we've already paid tax paying for.
Yeah.
And so the overlays, I think 100% agree with you that there is a general frustration level that seems to be increasing, at least becoming more relevant in more of the conversations that I'm having with people. I don't know what the inflection point is where someone's just going to... It reminds me of, there was a movie in the 1970s where people, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. And these people are opening up all the windows in these big apartments and just and yelling out because they're just tired of being worn down. And I don't know. I don't know how to answer your question of what's the end of this. What's the stopping point? Can we turn this ship around?
See, I think it's really important that people are aware of what's going on, and our kids are not. Our kids are using TikTok, Snap, all these different apps where you go, why do you keep taking photos every 10 seconds? And they're like, oh, it's just the way we communicate. And to me, there's something much more insidious about it than the fun that they're trying to make it. Because I saw. I don't know if you've ever been online, right? And it says, and I learnt this at a legal conference, where it'll say, "Prove that you're you by clicking on each one of these that's a bridge."
Yeah,
Yep.
I've seen
Capture.
those.
So yeah, the capture ones, right? So I was at this legal conference, and I'd always thought that was pretty nascent, no big thing. And then this attorney is saying, he says, what you're actually doing is you're training AI. Because he goes, what's this? And everyone's like, donut. And he's like, it's a cat. And they zoom out, and it's a cat. It's a cat curled up, but the middle of it looks like a donut. And he's like, see, you're training AI to be able to distinguish between nuances. And so they showed all these different things, and I'm like, that's amazing. Never thought of it like that. So there's these little things that are happening that we don't even know what we're doing. We're adults, and we're like, oh yeah, it's a bridge, it's a bridge, it's a bridge, I'll let me in. But our kids are doing photo, photo, photo. And then they show where they group together photos and get to a point where like it makes a collage. So it no longer is it like just a snapshot of something individual. It becomes the bigger picture. And the bigger picture in the way of surveillance. So Lauren, AI, how is that playing a big part in this?
Oh yeah, I mean, so we're talking about NSA in this article, but it's that's the one we know about. The CIA has been caught in recent years developing their own duplicate system of the NSA that it's going to be outside of our whole realm that we can't. Once it's off the shores, how do we control it, right?
Right.
And so that's scary. We've got AI where it's making decisions, and it's, the AI will be able to give you a social score. It's going to say, okay, it's the pre-crime. This person is, going to have a drunk driving accident, or he's.
Oh, you just give me the chills then. With that.
Well, you think about it, like it can look at your text messages. It could look at all this stuff and then go, oh, this person's ready for a mental break. Send the police in. I mean, that's
take the kids away.
Take the kids away.
And as this article broke with regard to the NSA, my thought was, okay, well, we still live in a country that we're innocent until proven guilty. But how do you prove your innocence, or more specifically, the beyond a reasonable doubt, beyond a reason of a doubt? How do you prove that if it's browser history from 4 computers ago that you don't have that computer anymore?
Well, he said, but we're still living a he said, she said from 30 years ago, right? Yeah, and you said innocent till proven guilty, but there's another nuance to that, which is a Soviet one, which is rather than find me the crime and I'll find you the man, or find me the man and I'll find you the crime, whichever way around the wrong way is, right, on that one. That's sort of where we're at as well. And rather than, it's like you want to bring someone down, we'll find a crime to fit the bill.
Well,
right.
And especially with AI, you can generate. So it used to be a photograph was worth 1,000 words, and you'd like, oh, this is a photograph. I know that that's true. I see it with my own eyes. Then there was the digital altering of photographs. So I can't believe that. Then it became the videos that they can manipulate video in real time, so you can't even tell if it's real or not. And now they're just, with all the generative AI, they'll make stuff up from a list of words you give it, and it'll create an image fully from scratch, that has not any sense of reality to it, but it looks 100% real.
Well, back in 2019, 2020, I was involved in legal e-discovery. One of the guys who we work with was involved in deep fakes. He's at ASU University, Gary Merchant. And he's really one of the leading authorities on deep fakes and their origins and where they're at. And if you read some of his work, like they're even saying that computers or AI won't even be able to tell what's not real and what's real. Like before, you could go, oh, look down here, there's like a seam where they knitted these pixels together. Now there's not even that.
Yeah.
And that's just been pretty recent, right?
Yeah,
I remember
it's
having a conversation
flying at the
about
speed of light. That's
the AI images that are produced. Well, they haven't figured out how to do fingers yet, or they haven't figured out certain body parts. They hadn't figured out that technology, but it sounds like
It's getting
that must have been 100 years ago.
It seems like it. We're moving so fast right now. And to go back to what you were saying about browser history, that's just text. That could be completely generated with AI. No one would be able to tell the difference.
So let's take the hypothesis, right, that they are collecting all of this, and they're collecting, and this is just the tip of the iceberg, and they're collecting way more than we think. I was at a conference back in 2016, and one of the Internet of Things specialists from Microsoft was at the conference. And he said at this conference, he said, everything with a microphone in it will be listening all the time. And I thought to myself, like what? Phone, of course. And he goes, no, your refrigerator, your vacuum cleaner, your Roomba. He says, Roombas actually map a house. So they actually send data showing exactly how big that house is, or how big the room the Roomba's in. Everything's collecting data. The fact that your refrigerator is this, and there was a great story about early on as they were developing this technology with Alexa, and remember Alexa Home?
Mm-hmm.
Alexa, lock the door. So great, no keys. These criminals came up, they flipped over the letterbox and went, Alexa, open the front door.
Sure, yeah.
Just walked it. And then obviously voice technology and voice recognition and all that changed. But again, voice recognition. See, I'm one of these people, I will not do the Face ID, even though I know I've probably done it at the airport and stuff like that with my phone. Because it's continually updating. This is Ian. This is what it looks like now. And then it's...
This is Ian with a slight, 5 o'clock shadow. This is him looking at 50 degrees to the left. And
yeah, and it's doing all of that sort of stuff. I don't see any... without them telling us, it's nefarious. If they told us and they were open about it, then we could have a conversation. But I think it's automatically nefarious when they've not told us about it.
Yeah, but NSA doesn't tell us anything, though. That's just the nature of their charter. Just like CIA's not going to tell us what they're doing.
So how is it that this news broke?
Somebody spilled the beans, a whistleblower, yeah.
Is that person still alive?
Well, it's funny, like, if you think about, like, all the talk we've had on, like, deep state and that sort of thing, I don't know if you heard the end of the conversation Kerry Lake had with the GOP chair in Arizona. She's like,
former GOP chair.
Why don't you just, like, tell the people back east? And he goes, you put your key in your ignition and your car goes boom. It's like, what? Like, if we're where we think we are, and then something that haunts me is when Tucker Carlson interviewed someone who was high up in, or had a friend who was high up in a federal agency. He said everything that you see out there, it's all fake. And he didn't go into detail, but it's like leaving people hanging like that. It's like, I want to know what. Well, I have a bunch of ideas myself, and some of them have already been proven true, but I think it's frightening.
It's terrifying.
Not in that I'm scared frightening, but frightening as in humanity does not let this go. They react at some point.
Well, look at the UK. They have cameras everywhere that records everything.
Yeah.
They've let it happen. We're doing the same thing here.
Well, and again, that they'll use that strawman argument of, well, when someone commits a crime, we're able to go back through cameras to see where they got on the bus, where they got off the bus, when they put their face mask on, what house. Oh, that's where they live, and they're able to roll it back almost. It's almost like they're replaying life to figure out who it was that did X, even though the DNC bombers, but something broke on that today, but. That file got corrupted accidentally.
But is England a safer place now?
No, and that's the whole point. we're not dealing with more safety. And if safety means that everyone's pointing a gun at you so you don't do things wrong, that's not freedom either. But it's certainly not freedom. But and as I say, I think man has a thirst for freedom, and my fear for the country is this stuff keeps coming out. You could actually, how could you not agree with some kind of revolution at that point in time?
Well, I mean, here's the thing: this isn't anything new. What was it? You dig a little bit, look up Pegasus. It was a program from the CIA that allowed the government to zero-click install. Like, it's not like, oh, I clicked a link and I got the wrong thing. It was software that would work on both iOS and Android phones. If it was sent to you, it was installed. They had access to everything on your phone. They could listen you could turn the mic on remotely, listen. They could turn the camera on remotely and watch. And that was like 2017, 2018, I think that happened. And it's still out. And the problem with that one is it went out into the wild, and it's no longer controlled by the CIA. It's
so bad actors. Well, the CIA are the bad actors, but now we've got bad actors who've
Correct.
also got the.
Well, and it always
and nothing's
that
happened.
always happens.
Right.
We build some revolutionary missile system and think no one will ever figure out how to outsmart this.
Yep.
Well, look at that. They just did.
It was the back in the 80s or early 90s stealth bombers. They'll never be able to figure out how to track them. They tracked them with a cell phone. You know,
Right.
it's one of those things. If you have it, people will figure it out. So
Yeah, it's so takeaways. So what immediately comes to mind for me is our kids. Is that they have to be aware of the data that's being collected and the future ramifications for their lives with what's being collected. Now, how to get that through to them, I don't know, because don't play that game because it's actually you're training AI or you're training the computer for X. Dad, I don't care. I want to play the game. I don't know how you get through with that.
look at how popular TikTok is, and it captures all that information. It's part of their end user license agreement that lets them collect all that information, and we do it just so we can laugh at a 30-second video. I mean, really.
Yeah.
Wasn't I thought there was a connection between Uber and autonomous driving. That Uber was the system to allow digital mapping of every road in America. Because the Uber, like you take a taxi, old traditional taxi, nobody's monitoring where it's driving. Where Uber, the drivers constantly got that map going,
Right.
which then fed into or helped the autonomous driving. So you start talking about the collection of the data and, hit all the buttons that are a bridge to your point earlier. What other things are being used that we think are consumer conveniences that are merely a stepping stone?
Oh, 100%.
Well, it's Siri, it's Alexa, all that. We give up freedom for ease of use all the time.
Yeah, we received. Someone gave me an Alexa or a Siri's the phone. Alexa, isn't Alexa like standalone?
Yeah,
It's
the little
an
spy.
Amazon's AI,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
And I remember going through the setup process, and I was like, nope, nope, not gonna do it. And so we're old school.
Yep.
We still have one television in our house. That's it.
No, but think about it,
It's a
right?
lot
It's
less.
like face recognition. Use your thumbprint, use your fingerprint on it. It's collecting all of that. It's not. Nothing ever gets deleted.
Right.
I think we're all. I think that's. I love it. I think I had something today. Oh, it was actually on YouTube. It says, "You remember this will be delete forever," and I'm like, "Yeah, right."
All these companies like China, so one of the big things with Huawei phones that got banned was like, oh, they can listen to all your conversation. They're like, well, why would they do that? It's a concept of harvest now, decrypt later. They'll be able to take and assemble the data, just like this big 26 billion account aggregate of user accounts. Individually, they're powerful, but as an aggregate, it's super powerful now because it allows you to get a more complete picture of a user and how they're all their transactions. It's really, the more data points that they're collecting, the more powerful it gets. So we're in a world where we're constantly giving data to everybody.
I had a conversation this morning with a gentleman who's an avid hunter, and he just spent a week down in Mexico on a very remote ranch. And some of the guys that he went down hunting with, one of the guys, there was one hilltop that they could get satellite phone connection from, and that's it. So if you need to make a phone call, and these guys were all business owners, so they're checking back in, make sure the businesses are running. And he said it was the most empowering, relaxing, back to nature experience that he had in quite some time. And one of the other guys said, well, next year let's get Starlink so we can listen to the football games. And the other guy said, you just completely missed the point. We are completely off the grid.
Yeah.
We don't show up because our phones don't even connect to anything. So turn them off, leave them in the truck.
That's a great point, Greg. So to wrap it up, I think final advice for everyone out there: you got to have conversations. You got to start talking to your friends, start talking to your wife, start talking to your community, and start making people really aware that this is coming at us like a fast moving tsunami. So until next time on Bonded Voices, we'd love to hear your comments. Get onto our website, bondedvoices.com. And until next time, I'm Ian.
I'm Greg.
This is Lauren.
We'll see you again. Hi, this is Ian from Bonded Voices. Each month we will be giving away $100 in gift cards to our fans. All you have to do is register on the bondedvoices.com site and solve the monthly puzzle. It's easy to do, no purchase necessary. Thanks for being a listener.